The courtroom buzzed with the usual hum of indifference. Just another day, just another case. No one paid much attention when the woman was led in. She looked like she'd been dragged off the street. Layers of ragged clothes, tangled hair, and eyes that didn't blink. Some guards near the wall laughed, openly. "She must think this is a soup kitchen," one said to the other, loud enough for her to hear. "Nah," the second replied, smirking. "She probably thinks a toothbrush is a kind of food." They didn't care who heard. That was the point. The woman sat at the defendant's table without saying a word. Her coat, more patches than fabric, wrapped tightly around her fingers like armor. She didn't react. Not to the laughter, not to the whispers. She didn't need to. The whole room was already telling her what it thought she was. Nothing. But they were wrong. She wasn't some helpless wanderer. She wasn't here by accident. And she wasn't alone. Her name, at least the one no one in that room knew, was Raina Cole. And this was her mission. Months earlier, someone had tipped her off anonymously. Whispered rumors about the Ravenwell Police Division. Lost reports, doctored footage, beatings swept under the rug. Civilians going missing without explanation. Raina had seen it before. She'd worked cases like this across the country, breaking open rings of corruption. But this time, she couldn't come in as a badge-wearing agent. She had to disappear into the world the system ignored. She became a ghost. They spotted her at a corner mart, digging through a trash bin. Not one question asked. No ID request. No warning. Just a quick shove, a rough cuffing, and into the back of the cruiser she went. The official charge? Loitering and resisting. Thin, but good enough to book her. Same story every time. One officer had muttered as the cell door clanged shut. It stuck with her. Inside the holding area, meant for 10, packed with over 20, the air was thick and the floor stained. She stayed quiet, observing. The other women barely looked up. It was the kind of place that stripped people down to nothing. But Raina recorded it all. Hidden inside her coat's lining was a mic the size of a dime. Every word, every threat, every disgusting joke. It all got captured. Day one in court came and went. The judge barely looked up. Her public defender never introduced himself. The same two arresting officers leaned against the back wall like it was all a big joke. But that was just what Raina needed. They were building the case against themselves. What they didn't know was that every minute of her time inside had been fed live to a team of observers, from federal attorneys to investigative reporters, tucked away in a van 2 blocks from the courthouse. She wasn't here to plead. She was here to document. And she had plenty of material. After her second court date, the same guards joked louder than before. "Smells like the street followed her in," said one. The other added, "Bet she hasn't had a real name in years." The defender, if you could call him that, barely flinched, still glued to his phone. But Raina kept collecting, watching, waiting. That night, tucked into the corner of a moldy holding cell, she tapped a coded sequence on a transmitter sewn into her jacket sleeve. Seconds later, a quiet ping came back, green light. Moved to phase 3. It was time. When she entered the courthouse for her third and final hearing, everything felt heavier. The air had shifted. She didn't know if the officers sensed it, but they were there again. Same smirks, same postures. The judge looked impatient. Her lawyer barely glanced up. "Same routine," he whispered. "Plead guilty, we're done." Raina didn't answer. Instead, she stood, not to address the judge, but to face the crowd. That's what happened. The heavy courtroom doors opened. 2 men in black suits strode in, crisp and silent. No need for introductions. The whole room knew who they were. Federal. They moved straight to the bench. "Your Honor," said one, "we are here on official directive regarding this matter." "It's a loitering case," the judge replied. "Incorrect," said the agent. He placed a thick envelope on the clerk's desk. "This is an active investigation into widespread misconduct within the Ravenwell Police Division." You could feel the breath leave the room. Raina stepped forward and opened her jacket. From a hidden inner pocket, she pulled out a wallet. She flipped it open, revealing her ID. "I'm Special Investigator Raina Cole. I've been working undercover for the last 8 months as part of a federal operation." The courtroom cracked into chaos. Gasps, murmurs, cameras. Reporters scrambled into the room as 2 agents moved to cuff the officers who had mocked her, arrested her, laughed at her. "You thought I was a nobody," Raina said, looking directly at them. "You never asked who I was. You never cared. That's why I was the perfect one to catch you." Over the following days, news outlets ran the footage nationwide. The clips were undeniable. Cops mocking the homeless, roughing up kids, tossing out complaints like candy wrappers. They played phone recordings from public defenders who hadn't even spoken to their clients. And the files went deep: documents, video, testimony. It was a storm. People marched in the streets. Local leaders resigned. State officials tried to minimize the damage. Some even called Raina reckless for going undercover without warning the department. But the truth was out, and it had a name. She turned down a promotion from the Bureau. Instead, she built something new, the Cole Accord, a watchdog network made of investigators, lawyers, and community leaders. Their mission was simple: protect the unheard. She didn't need a badge anymore. She had something stronger: proof. Weeks later, she stood quietly at a rally in the city center. A young girl, maybe 7 or 8, tugged at her sleeve. "Are you the one who made the police stop?" Raina smiled gently. "I'm the one who didn't keep quiet." The girl nodded. "I want to do what you do." Raina kneeled down. "Then go further than me," she said. "Go louder." Justice, Raina knew, wasn't something you waited for. It was something you carried. Every day, especially when no one's watching. And she was far from finished. The dust hadn't settled. Not really. The headlines faded, the protests thinned, but the echo of what happened in that courtroom stayed. For some, Raina Cole became a symbol. For others, a problem that wouldn't go away. But she wasn't chasing glory. She didn't care about monuments or magazine covers. She cared about the system, how it worked, who it crushed, and who it protected. And now, people were finally asking the right questions. The Cole Accord didn't fix everything overnight, but it wasn't supposed to. It gave people tools, a place to go when no one else would listen. Lawyers who took on cases for the ignored. Investigators who knocked on doors that were always shut. People who didn't flinch when faced with broken rules written to protect the powerful. In small towns and big cities, stories like Raina's began surfacing. Not all of them made the news, but they mattered. A teenage boy wrongfully detained for walking home after dark. A woman denied medical help in a holding cell. An immigrant family threatened into silence. These weren't stories of the past. They were happening every day. And for the first time, someone was keeping count and fighting back. Raina's decision had sparked something deeper than outrage. It had sparked responsibility. Inside her office, a modest room above a community legal clinic, Raina kept a photo of her brother Marcus on the wall. He never got justice. The cops who beat him never answered for it. But his story had shaped hers. And every time she walked through those doors, she remembered why she started. Justice wasn't a courtroom declaration. It wasn't polished speeches or press conferences. It was in the quiet choices, the daily grind, the refusal to look away. One night, while reviewing case files stacked taller than her desk lamp, a letter arrived in plain packaging. No return address. Inside was a photo. A young man standing in front of a courthouse, holding a sign. "I'm here because someone believed me." On the back, scribbled in rushed handwriting, "Thank you." She sat with it for a long moment, just breathing. The noise of the world faded for a beat. That's what this was. That's why it mattered. The fight wasn't over. Corruption doesn't fold after one exposed case. It adapts. It hides better. But now it knew someone was watching. Raina wasn't undercover anymore. She didn't have to be. She was visible, and that, more than any badge or title, gave her power. Because when you stop being invisible, when the world is forced to see you, hear you, reckon with you, change isn't just possible. It's inevitable. And for Raina Cole, that was enough. For now.